We are live. We are live on YouTube. Okay. Okay. We're gonna start the video right now, the ceremony right now with the video. Good afternoon. Welcome to the second Chinese American World War II Veterans Congressional Gold Medal Presentation Ceremony for living Chinese American World War II vets in the New York area. This will be the final virtual ceremony for our New York area living Chinese American World War II vets. Please rise for the presentation of colors.
Colors, preset, on!
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Colors, right shoulder, arm. Colors, skirt, arm.
Please join us for the invocation by Chaplain Phil Ng. Chaplain.
Please uncover. Almighty God, you are the supreme commander. We are humble and grateful for this special ceremony in honoring all Chinese Americans, World War II veterans, Congressional Gold Medal recipients, sponsored by the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of New York. Bless the speakers and all the people in making this televised presentation possible. We praise all Chinese American World War II veterans for their courage and the ultimate sacrifice in serving this United States of America and all branches of the United States military, reminding each one of us that freedom is not free. May their legacy inspire us to be proud to be called Chinese Americans. Almighty eternal God, place your Holy Spirit of grace with hope, peace, and protection, and all love one another. May these ceremonies of Congressional Gold Medals presentation be worthy of thy blessing. God bless America, a home sweet home. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain Ng. Please all be seated.
Okay, finish.
Again, welcome to today's Chinese American World War II Veterans Congressional Gold Medal presentation ceremony. I am Phil Wang, the president of Chinese American Citizens Alliance of Greater New York, CACAGNY for short. And it gives me and all of CACAGNY the great pleasure to host the Greater New York presentation of Congressional Gold Medal to our veterans from the greatest generation. We want to thank you and honor our World War II veterans for their service in a challenging time for the world. We thank Major General William Chen, as well as Melanie Chan that will join us later, the current national CACA president, and Ed Gore, our past national CACA president, who has led the charge on this CGM project. We in CACAGNY are focused on fighting discrimination against Chinese and Asians, particularly in education. In New York, firstly, with our lawsuit against the city and the Department of Education for its discrimination against Asians in the changed admissions policy for the specialized high schools, as well as with continuing rallies and protests against racism in school admissions to our specialized high schools, to the gifted and talented programs and screen programs. These last few weeks, we have been meeting with legislators to oppose two bills in the state Senate and Assembly that aim to reduce the number of Asians who can attend the specialized high schools. We invite you to join us in emailing them our opposition to their racism. We join a lawsuit against the city and the Department of Education for its selective search, manhandling, and exclusion of Asians, including members and officers of CACAGNY from a public town hall meeting that was held about a year ago. We also lend support to other communities fighting the same battles against discrimination across this nation. We have stood up against the violent attacks against Asians that horrify all people of good conscience. We have taken a stand against the critical race theory, which increases attacks against Asians. A theory that demands that all people be judged, rewarded, or punished by race in schools is harmful to Asian Americans and Americans of every color and ethnicity. It is un-American. But while we are fighting currently for our rights here, our elders have fought also for our rights that were in great peril during World War II. If America had not fought to defend our allies in the bloodiest conflict in history, not only our allies would have fallen, we too would have fallen. And with it, the American way. This is what this ceremony is about. Service to our nation and the world as we fought against tyranny globally. We recognize our Chinese American World War II vets, our parents, grandparents, and siblings for their service so we of the later generation could have better lives. With that, I would like to ask WWII Chin, CACAGNY's Charter President and Congressional Gold Medal Project Leader, to introduce our guests and presenters. WWII, please unmute.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and welcome our guests. We are very, very grateful for the service of all of the vets, and it's a pleasure that I welcome back our friends to present and speak to you all. I'm going to start by asking Melanie Chan to please unmute so that our current CACA National President can say a couple of words for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie.
Thank you, WWII. You know, it's really my honor and my pleasure as the national president of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance to have this opportunity to recognize and express my appreciation and to honor the many Chinese American men and women who served during World War II with valor and bravery with this long overdue recognition. CACA has a long history of supporting and honoring our veterans, and many of the World War II veterans were members of our leadership. You all leave a legacy of dedication and sacrifice to the freedoms and liberties that we are all privileged to enjoy today. And you have become leaders in our community. As role models, you inspire the community and our youth to believe in themselves and to live with integrity and honor. I wish I could be there with you to celebrate in person, but I know that you will all enjoy this virtual celebration. You are our true heroes and our greatest inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. And now, thank you, Melanie. Now we have a very short film that gives framework to what we are all here talking about. It's been a long journey for a lot of people on this Congressional Gold Medal Project. Please, Phil, can you put on?
Yes, I'll do that. Okay. One moment, I have a technical issue.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
It's hard to believe that nearly 8 decades have passed since that fateful morning on December 7th, 1941, when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Aloha, I'm Pamela Young. More than 16 million Americans served in our armed forces during World War II. For Chinese Americans, the story of their service to our country was nearly forgotten. Their stories of heroism and sacrifice are only now being told and recognized by a grateful nation.
The Chinese-American military experience began during the American Civil War of 1861 to 1865. A small number of Chinese served in the Union and Confederate forces during the bloody conflict on American soil. During World War I, Chinese Americans enlisted in the United States Army to fight in the European War.
Over there, send the word over there.
By late 1918, the doughboys of the American Expeditionary Force engaged the enemy. Chinese American soldiers distinguished themselves on the battlefields of France. The Hawaiian Islands, one of the most strategic American military sites, now became the target of aggression as the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941.
The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
America was now at war. After the decisive victory at the Battle of Midway, American forces began its offensive against Germany and Japan. Chinese American personnel were now engaged in combat operations around the world. They fought at Guadalcanal, the China-Burma-India Theater, from North Africa to Sicily, from the Normandy invasion to the German Rhineland, from the Pacific to the Mediterranean and European theater of operations. Chinese Americans helped to defeat our enemies on all fronts. Up to 20,000 Chinese Americans served in World War II. In spite of the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, 1 out of every 5 Chinese in America served their country. They served in every branch of service: the Army Air Forces, the Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and Merchant Marines. For the first time, Chinese American women enlisted in the United States military. The small but significant number of Chinese American women in uniform helped to break the racial and gender barriers. They were assigned to a variety of stateside duties, and some were sent overseas. 2 Chinese American women flew with the Women's Air Force service pilots. Women on the home front stepped up as war workers at aircraft factories and naval shipyards. They served as Red Cross volunteers and also created the first Chinese USO canteen for servicemen. With the defeat of Germany and Japan, World War II was finally over. The men and women in uniform returned home. Utilizing the GI Bill and their veteran status, they ultimately helped to establish a modern, vibrant post-war Chinese community. With the advent of the 75th anniversary of the ending of World War II, an idea for congressional recognition for our Chinese American veterans began with the efforts of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance. They led the way for the idea of a congressional medal for our veterans. It was to become a reality.
You know, when I started this journey with Chinese American Citizens Alliance back in 2016, we knew really that time was against us with the aging World War II veterans. We really wanted to give our World War II veterans a final honor. We had to start locating the families and survivors to get as many signed up as possible. You know, one of the goals of this project was to get the children and grandchildren involved to really see that they had made a great sacrifice for this country. Throughout their lives, many Chinese dedicated themselves to prove that we are as patriotic as any other groups who served in the military.
We wanted the medal to depict that Chinese American veterans served in every theater of war and fought on air, land, and sea. Additionally, we wanted to recognize Chinese American women that served during World War II. The common occupation was a nurse, found in the Army, Army Air Force, and the United States Navy. Although 40% of the veterans could not be citizens, they were proud to serve as Americans.
The Congressional Gold Medal is the highest award given by Congress to civilian individuals or groups, and what it really means to veterans as well as the families is final recognition for all the contributions made by Chinese Americans in the U.S. Armed Services.
We also remember the Chinese Americans who gave their lives in service to our country. Francis B. Y., Captain, 34th Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Captain Y is the only Chinese American recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Hua Kao Kong, Lieutenant, 353rd Fighter Squadron, United States Army Air Force. Harold K. Lee, Corporal, 60th Infantry Regiment, United States Army. David G. Lem, Lieutenant, 499th Bomb Squadron, United States Army Air Force.
War is a time that tries the souls of men and women. And World War II was a time when every patriotic soul was needed. America's 20,000 Chinese American veterans were there, and they stood for America and earned today's thanks, the thanks of a grateful nation. And so, to you, America's Chinese Americans veterans, thank you and God bless you. And God bless as well the nation that stands today, because on a dangerous yesterday, America's veterans, including America's Chinese American veterans, stood for her. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a moving tribute. Every time I watch it, I think of the wonderful things of our great vets who served in World War II. Now I want to introduce someone you've already seen in this film, a person who has served not only himself, but his father also in World War II. You saw a picture of his entire family, in fact. It's Major General Bill Chen from the U.S. Army. Bill Chen served on active duty in the U.S. Army for 32 years, primarily in missile, air, and missile defense systems acquisition. He served as Commanding General, U.S. Army Missile Command, and Program Executive Officer for Missile Defense, leading the development of the Army's national and theater missile defense programs. He served as a defense industry successively as VP and Program Director, VP Engineering and Product Development, and VP and General Manager of a defense company. That's the short version. And there's a lot more that I could tell you about him, but I want you to know that he has spent years in being the review chair for this Congressional Gold Medal. We owe him a lot for this project. This would not happen without him. What also is not said is that he is the first two-star general of the U.S. Army of Chinese American descent. That is an extraordinary accomplishment. And I want you also to know that there is no Chinese American of higher rank than him at this day. General Bill, thank you so much for your service to the nation and to this project. would you please say a couple of words for us all?
WWII, thank you for that nice introduction.
Bill, General, are you totally visible there? Good, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to highlight the significance of the service and the sacrifices of our Chinese American World War II veterans as part of the story arc of Chinese American World War II veterans. The primary basis for the award of the Congressional Gold Medal to the Chinese American World War II veterans was their service in spite of the discriminatory aspects of the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, not repealed until December of 1943. Of the 20,000 Chinese American veterans who served, approximately 40% were non-US citizens. They were denied citizenship, had no rights, couldn't vote, no homesteading. Yet they proudly served as Americans. We must forever remember, honor, and preserve the legacy of our Chinese American World War II veterans. They defended the freedom that we so much enjoy today. They demonstrated their skills, competencies, loyalty, and patriotism. They served with pride and proudly served as Americans. They opened up opportunities for all Chinese Americans to be a part of mainstream America post-World War II. Through their hard work and sacrifice, they enabled our follow-on generations to live the American dream. And they continued the legacy of progress of Chinese in America as initially established by Chinese railroad workers. There is much in common between Chinese railroad workers and Chinese American World War II veterans. Both groups were forgotten, ignored, and excluded. Yet both groups are unsung heroes. Finally, on May 10, 2019, at the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad, Chinese railroad workers were fully honored and recognized. And this completed the story arc of Chinese railroad workers. Finally, on December 9th, 2020, some 75 years after the end of World War II, at the Speaker of the House ceremony for the award of the Congressional Gold Medal, Chinese American World War II veterans were honored and recognized. And this completed the story arc of Chinese American World War II veterans. In my case, I am a descendant of a Chinese railroad worker who worked the second transcontinental railroad, the Southern Pacific Railroad, from California to El Paso, Texas. I am also a descendant of a Chinese American World War II veteran who was a pilot in the China Air Task Force and 14th Air Force in the China-Burma-India theater. I'm honored to pay tribute to our Chinese American World War II veterans. Our current and future generations owe a huge debt to our Chinese American World War II veterans. Let us remember, honor, and preserve their legacy. WWII.
Thank you, General Bill Chen. As you said, these are models for all of us, and I salute you too as a model for us all. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Ed Gore. He's the Executive Director of the entire Chinese American World War II Veteran Recognition Project. The Congressional Gold Medal would not exist without his efforts. And he thought of this, he came up with this a number of years ago, actually in New York when he was visiting us. And so it is with great pleasure that I introduce Ed Gore, our former national president of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance and current director, executive director of this CAWWII Congressional Gold Medal effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Wei-Wa. It must have been something I drank in the water in 2016 when I was in New York that prompted me to do this crazy idea. But it really is a pleasure to be here with everyone this afternoon. Thank you very much, Phil, for all your leadership and yours too as well, Wei-Wa, and everything you're doing for the citizens of Chinatown, the Chinese Americans who live in New York, who are encumbered by the draconian ways of the education department by the mayor in New York City. Well, let me just say that today, I just thought about this for a moment here, and I said, you know, how many of you, all of you, I'm sure, and all of us here listening today, remember where we were on 9/11? There's not a person today, even 20 years ago now, almost 20 years, that we don't know where we were. Yet at the same time, I'd just like to say, there are only 5 of us today who remember where we were, or where they were, on December 7th, 1941. And to those 5 we're here to honor today, it is a real pleasure to meet you and to see you and to see how well you're doing. I've been told that by many of you that you've waited for this a long time, at least a year and a half throughout this pandemic. So I'm honored here to be with you and just to say a few words about how important this Congressional Gold Medal is. I just want to say that it is such an important thing that Congress chose to honor you and to recognize you for your service as World War II veterans. The program, as Wei-Wa was saying, was started in 2016, 2017 by CACA, Chinese American Citizens Alliance. And it was just an idea that we thought about in terms of, you know, what can we do to honor this generation of people who were members of CACA, of course, and who came back from war to show us a legacy of accomplishment, of pride, and everything they did to show us the right way to do things. And through legislation that was introduced in the House and the Senate in 2017, we were able to pass this bill in one session of Congress. That is a miraculous effort. Those of you who have even gone to your legislatures in the state level as well as Congress know how difficult it is for every bill to get out of Congress, out of committee, and then passed and signed by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, at the time in December 2018. I just want to say that about 20,000 Chinese served in World War II. 40% were not even citizens. So that shows you a tremendous amount of pride and patriotism for our country. Today, about 3,500 of you have been located, registered, and confirmed to receive the Congressional Gold Medal. Just a little bit of an update. We will have our national ceremony in Washington, D.C. on September 30th. We'll be able to honor those who come to Washington, D.C. with the Congressional Gold Medal, including the families of those whose veterans are no longer with us. So I want to just say thank you to those 5 veterans that we're going to honor today: Edward Leung, Chu-Dik Hua, Richard Chan, Jing Chen, and Yu-Si Liu, for your service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. As usual, your eloquence is greatly appreciated. Now, General Bill Chen, would you please do the presentations to our Chinese American World War II vets?
Our first awardee is Army Air Forces Corporal Edward Leung, 4197th Army Air Forces Base Unit, Greenville, Mississippi, American Theater. Thank you for your service. On behalf of the Congress of the United States, I present to you the Congressional Gold Medal. Congratulations.
Say thank you. Con lắm. Con gì mà sẽ con à sẽ nói không có bao giờ con biết yeah, con say thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Next is Merchant Marine veteran Chu-Dik Hua. Thank you for your service on board the Woodrow Wilson ship.
Yeah,
congratulations to you, because members of the Merchant Marine will be awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. On behalf of the Congress of the United States, I'm honored to award to you the Congressional Gold Medal.
No signal. Yeah. Thank you for this. I'm very happy to receive this medal.
Okay, thank you. Next
It
is
has my honor to serve
The next recipient, General. Yeah.
Mute.
Next is
He has one more thing to say. 1 second.
Okay.
This one again.
Go ahead.
It's been my dream to serve for the United States, which in Marine in World War II.
Thank you.
Next is Army veteran Richard Chan. On behalf of the Congress of the United States, I'm honored to present to you this Congressional Gold Medal for your service in military intelligence and armor, United States Army. Congratulations.
Thank you. Say thank you. Say thank you. Say thank you very much. Just a moment. Say thank you. Go. Say thank you. My father thanks you very much for this honor. Thank you.
You're next.
Okay. Our next two awardees were both assigned to the 407th Air Service Squadron, 14th Service Group, 14th Air Force, China, Burma, India Theater. Corporal Jing W. Chen, I'm honored to present to you the Congressional Gold Medal. I note that you're originally from Southbridge, Massachusetts. I live in Belmont, Massachusetts. Congratulations.
We were up. We were up. Say thank you.
Jing, can you unmute? Yes. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Private UC Liu. Thank you for your service in the 407th Air Service Squadron. I saw a photo of you in the book, The Shadow of the Tiger, a photo of you with your assigned group taken at Guiyang Airfield in Guizhou. I'm honored on behalf of the Congress of the United States to present to you the Congressional Gold Medal. Congratulations.
Say thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Liu says thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Phil, back to you.
Okay,
Thank you very much, General
thank
Bill,
you. Thank you.
for presenting all of our vets their awards. Your efforts, as well as those of the vets, are greatly appreciated.
Okay. Congratulations to all the Chinese American World War II vets honored today. We have a list of the recipients shared soon. We are just as soon as I'm done speaking, we are grateful for your service. Thank you also, General Chen. We appreciate your honoring us here today by joining our Greater New York Area ceremony and presenting the Congressional Gold Medals. And we thank you for not just all the work you have contributed, to the Congressional Gold Medal effort, but all your decades of distinguished service. You joined the ranks of all the vets, presented medals back in February. We have a slide that, let me show that right now, of all the recipients of today. Yun Toi Chin, aka Edward Leung, Army Air Force. Chu Dik Hua of Merchant Marines. Chin W. Bo, aka Richard Chan. Jing W. Chin of Army Air Forces. Yu Chung Liu of Army Air Forces. The next slide will show all the remaining living vets, some of whom told us clearly they want to be in the in-person ceremony only, which we will to have soon. And we also like to thank, here are the remaining living veterans in Greater New York. And we also like to thank many people. Major General William S. Chen, U.S. Army retired, the Congressional Gold Medal Review Chair. Mr. Ed Gore, CACA past National President and CAWW2 Project Manager. Melanie Chan, our CACA National President. Wei Hua Chin, the Charter President of CACAGNY, New York, and also the CGM Project Manager. And I myself, Phil Wang, and Gabe Mui, Kim Lau, American Legion Post 1291, Adjutant. Chaplain Philip Ng, Kim Lau, American Legion Post 1291, and Kim Lau, American Legion Post 1291, the United States Congress for passing the act, and the Joint Forces Command Headquarters. Again, congratulations to all our Chinese American World War II vets. And this concludes our formal ceremony. We're now opening the mic up for the vets and their families, should they want to say a few words or to share some of their stories. Please put your hand up or wave if you would like to speak. Jing, you have your hand up. Go ahead. Please unmute. Jing. We're hearing echoes, Jing, so you probably want to unmute and then take the phone away, move the phone away so you can speak.
Phil, I saw David Chu. If you
Okay,
could
let's go to David. Let's go to David Chu. David, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Thank you for very much. My name is David Chu, and on behalf of my father and my family, I really would like to thank the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of New York and all of our distinguished guests today for their efforts in bringing forth today's Congressional Medal of Honor. And just to mention, we're very proud of all the veterans today. My father has passed on his courage and love of country and family to his 4 children and 9 grandchildren. And once again, thank you to everyone very much for this wonderful and great honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else would like to speak or say a few words? Share the stories. Nope.
Phil.
Yes.
If I may say a few words.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I've gotten the opportunity to know and learn a lot of our veterans and their families. I've reviewed some of their bios, their experiences, there's a common thread that I'd like to talk about. In many respects, World War II was an opening for them because pre-World War II, many were isolated, working among other Chinese in the Chinatowns across the country or in rural areas. But by their joining the military service, they opened up to the world. They went to all theaters of war across the world. But most important of all, they came back and, of course, they made known to the American general public who Chinese in America were and who Chinese Americans were. And then they made use of the GI Bill to better themselves, to educate themselves, or they made use of the War Brides Act of 1945, where they brought back to the United States their brides. And then, of course, beyond that, you know, all the families, many of you as descendants, you may not be here today were it not for the War Brides Act. And so we all need to be grateful to our Chinese American veterans because, as I said earlier, they helped in making Chinese Americans a part of mainstream America, but more than anything else, for the follow-on generations, with their emphasis on education. Many of us, of course, have now lived the American dream. And so we need to be forever grateful to that legacy from our Chinese American World War II veterans.
Correct. That's correct. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, given that there are no other speakers, we will be wrapping up. Okay.
Bill, can I interrupt you just 1 second?
Absolutely. Sure. Go ahead.
Reemphasize what General Bill just said. And,
okay.
You know, this is one of these once in a lifetime opportunities for us not to waste as a community of Chinese Americans here in the United States. It is rare that one ethnic group does get recognized. Remember, we were singled out to be excluded from the country for 40 years or more, actually more than 40 years. But here's the one opportunity that Congress has decided to honor our World War II veterans, which by extension is an honor for all of us as Chinese Americans. It would be a shame if you put this medal away and did nothing with it. It would be a shame if you didn't tell your children and grandchildren about what happened to your grandfather, to your father, to your uncle, your aunt, if you didn't say more about this. This is the generation today, they're today being picked on and actually being abused in the streets. New York, Los Angeles, Oakland, doesn't matter what city. The hate crimes that are being perpetrated against this generation are horrible, or any generations. But we must be wary, but we must also protect these seniors who are part of this greatest generation. I will say to you that the importance of the Congressional Gold Medal is this. Very few people get it. In the country today, we probably only have 3,500 households who will have this medal in their hands. It will be up to you to make sure that medal gets out and that you express what your relatives have done for the country, and you likewise can show yourselves as being exemplary model citizens, not minorities, just model citizens of our country. Thanks, Phil.
Okay, thank you. Well said. Yes, share your stories. Tell your grandkids, tell your families, tell your neighbors that it took many years and many decades for the Chinese Americans to get recognized for their war efforts. Thank you. Okay. Being that no other further speakers, thank you all for coming, and we will hope to see you at the in-person ceremony when conditions permit and once we secure a space. And congratulations to our Chinese American World War II vets. Thank you. This ceremony has come to an end. Thank you all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
have a good day. Mm.
Thank you, and particularly thank you, General Bill,